Saints to make it 28-3. Arthur Blank loving it. Up by 25. Toss to White. He's in! What a comeback!
All right, guys, welcome to the 28-3 podcast. I'm here with Nick, Corey. My name is Max. Let's get into it. So we finished off last episode with Corey posing the question of, is Pete Werner and Demario Davis as good as the Dome Patrol?
No, that is not what I said.
Well, hold on. So what we decided to do is we are going to educate the younger members of our audience.
Sure.
So Nick and I, being the old men that we are, you know, we've been around for the not so glory days, the non-Sean Payton days of the Saints, and we have been emotionally scarred from it.
Well,
so hold on, we're going to
Yeah.
talk about this. We're going to talk about this. This is a little education for you.
I was going to say, part of the framing of that about the younger generation, though, is the scary thing that I'm not even a younger generation. The
you
fact
kinda
that
are, though.
but I am, but the fact that I can even remember bad days is there are people, I would say kids, but they're like
You remember like
full-grown-
Hazlitt Bass days though.
I remember the end of Mora. I remember Ditka.
Well, let me ask you
Hazlitt,
this. Do you
but
remember Mora having a meltdown when he
I don't
right
think I
before
was
he resigned?
I don't think I was allowed to watch TV that late. When he
Okay,
was
I'm going to
having
say,
a
Nick
meltdown.
and I were
But-
in college.
but I was at the
We
games.
watched that press conference.
I went to the games that young, but I wasn't watching that kind of TV when I was that young. But my point is,
Were you that into this when you're that
absolutely. Oh, I was that into the
young? Like
Saints.
at what age?
At
He was
like
drawing the logo
3.
in crayon.
Okay.
There's a story about me when I was 3 years old, and we were at Ralph and Kaku's and in Metairie, and the manager.
Badass place, by the way.
Yeah, it was great. But we're sitting there at the table, and 3-year-old me is sitting there at the table, and he does the whole thing where you see a little kid. Oh, what's your name, little buddy? And the story is, and not because I don't remember it, but I looked him square in the eyes and said, Morton Anderson. And so I was pretty obsessed with the Saints.
good.
But
My first Saints memory, since we're doing that, was
God.
leaving a Saints game. I think it was 7, and I saw Ricky Jackson at his hotel because we went to get beignets in the quarter. Walking back, see Ricky Jackson, lose my goddamn mind, and all I hear my mom say is, "That's not his wife."
Shout out to Dion for knowing that. All right.
my point is there are.
Oh, wait a minute. That's a very... Okay, what was your first Saints jersey?
Morton Anderson.
Okay. Nick?
That's how sad it was in the beginning.
That yeah,
You
had a
kicker.
kicker's jersey.
I was a little kid and I was most excited about the kicker.
Right, that's how fucking bad it was.
Thank you,
Well,
Jim Mora, for
And
that.
I love Mort, but Jesus Christ, no one should have kicker jerseys in the stadium.
I would ask Nick what his first jersey was, but I remember that goddamn Michael Irvin 88 jersey hanging up in his
I
closet.
did have that, but that was a Christmas
My little
present.
brother was a Cowboys fan in the '90s too. I gave him so much.
That was a relative
I was the
gave me
kid
that.
who was willing to wear the Saints starter jackets at school in the mid '90s when everybody else was wearing Packers and Cowboys, and I said no.
Oh, we got those. We
We're
got those
wearing
for
Saints gear. What the hell are y'all doing?
Look at you bucking the trends.
First jersey, though, that's a tough one. I don't know the answer to
I
that.
had a Ricky Jackson.
Nice.
That would be my guess.
That makes
'cause
sense.
I loved Ricky Jackson, but I can't.
I could see like stocky ass like teenager Max wearing Ricky Jackson.
And I've had
Just, like,
Deuce was a huge one. I remember. I rocked that one for years.
I still have my Deuce where like the numbers are faded to brown now. You know, that's how you know you got an old.
Well, hold on.
Originally,
You
we-
remember the J.J.
we had
McCleskey
J.J.
jersey?
McCleskey, yeah.
Yeah.
J.J. McCleskey.
Beat that one. Ain't nobody beating that one.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's got that.
My
jersey.
parents were at some fundraiser, some big gala, and they had an auction. And the prize was a football signed by the entire Saints team. And randomly as hell, a J.J. McCleskey number 44 jersey. You don't even know who J.J. McCleskey is, do you?
I'll no.
He was
Oh,
smaller than
Jesus
us.
Christ. 5'7" at the
Awesome.
most.
What was his last?
maybe 160
What was his
pounds.
last year on the team?
Jesus.
Early 90s, mid 90s.
I remember like
Three-ish?
the toy cooks, Eric. Everyone knows
Eric, oh,
Allen,
come
but-
on. You got to go back further than that, pal. Ask Nick about
Well,
Johnny
the-
Poe.
Johnny Poe, baby.
Dalton
Johnny
Hilliard-
Poe, Nick's
Dalton
favorite player of
Hilliards,
all
the
time.
Eric Martins,
J.J.
the-
McCleskey. Oh, that was a good one. Didn't his son just get out of college?
No, his son actually signed with the Saints a year ago and in training camp as a wide receiver. He was at Oklahoma State, transferred to Tulane, much like his dad, extremely fast, except he was around, I think, 5'11", 6 feet, but he weighed about 160 pounds, if that.
Yeah.
Didn't make the team. I don't think he's in the NFL anymore, but the legacy of J.J. McCleskey almost lived on.
He played in the NFL for 8 or 9 years.
JJ was amazing.
He left
dude.
us and went to the Cardinals and played
Special teams demon.
Yeah. So like he wasn't just like a run. I mean, he had a good career.
I believe you, old guys.
You're just sad you didn't have the luxury of remembering him.
I remember Toy Cook. I remember,
you?
Tommy Barnhart.
Okay,
I remember
Let's rephrase. Biggest Saints disappointment. First huge Saints disappointment.
This will be telling.
I was there at the Dome when the Falcons eliminated us on the last second field
So the
goal.
Michael Haynes.
Before Michael Haynes, and it was either the wild card playoff game or the game we had to win to get into the playoffs. And it was
The Michael Haynes was the one that had bounced us. Remember, it was a Hail Mary.
there was one specifically
That was early '90s though. This is before that.
There was one
It was
specifically
right before we signed him, of
Yeah.
course.
where I was young enough to still, cry at football games, right? And we lost because the Falcons hit like a 50-plus, almost 60-yarder to win the game. And it was either advancing the playoffs or to make the playoffs. I'm not going to be able to pinpoint the year,
I
but
need you to fact check this one.
I'm going to fact check it. But you talk about like biggest disappointment. I mean, that's what's ingrained in my head as like the earliest Saints disappointment.
Well, I got one for you. I'm going to segue over to Nick with this and say Flipper Anderson.
I went to that game.
At that game, 336 yards on, 17 catches?
No, it was less than that, I think, even.
Well, let's put some context to this game. When are we talking?
This is late 80s.
87, 88, I believe.
The
Jim
shortened-
Everett was the
I'm going to say it's
quarterback.
88.
Was it the
if I had to
shortened
guess.
season or after that?
No. This is a full-on season. Future Saints quarterback Jim Everett was
We
the
had
quarterback
the lead in
for
the
Rams.
fourth quarter. We had the lead
Saints great,
so
Jim Everett.
comfortably that we left. And walking to the car, we get in the car.
Were you driving yet?
Of course not.
Okay, just
not
making
that
sure.
I mean, I might have been, but they didn't know.
I'll keep
about
talking about how old you are. Just making sure.
it. I'm pretty old. Get to the car, turn on the radio. Rams score, go to overtime. Instantly in overtime, he has another big catch. We lose the game. When it was in hand enough for my parents to say it's time to go, it's getting late. That kind of thing.
Sure.
That's the worst memory. That's still probably the worst memory of a Saints game in person. No, that's not true. The no call is the worst.
Yeah. And look, I just fact-checked you, and you are correct. It was less than the 17. It was 15 catches for 336 yards. And that season, he had 44 catches for 1146, an average of 26 a catch. That's
But that was a
insane.
third of his catches in one game against us.
Jesus.
And they won in overtime, correct?
Yes. God, that's crazy.
I'll never forget leaving that game. It was ridiculous. And still an NFL record.
Yeah, it is.
That's, 35 years later in a much more offensive game than it was back then.
Yeah,
Still
to put it in
a
context,
record.
you're right, because that was more of the NFL was a running league, with the exception of Dan Marino at that point.
Well, and the
Joe
49ers who
Yeah,
ruined
the
our life
49ers.
over and over again. Right.
You know what, though? Let's circle back. So Corey posed a question about the Dome Patrol versus the Pete Werner, Demario Davis combo. So let's get some context on the Dome Patrol. I know you're a big history buff with the Dome Patrol. Give me what you got.
Well, we can throw Vaughn Johnson out if you want. Vaughn Johnson was incredible, multi-time Pro Bowler, but his longevity wasn't like the other three guys. So.
But as of right now, you will say he is Vaughn Johnson was better than Pete Werner.
100%, and that's not even close.
Right.
Was Vaughn Johnson better than Demario?
No.
Probably not.
Okay.
I would say absolutely not.
Good frame of reference.
But talk about the other ones relative to Demario.
What I think Saints fans forget a little bit is how good Pat Swilling was.
Well, and before you, real quick, I mean, when you say forget, too, I do want to emphasize the fact that people forget, especially those of, we could call it our generation, but mine and yours. There are full-on adults out there 26, 27
That
year old
didn't see
guys
any of this.
who think they're on top of the world right now. Maybe they just bought their first house. They have a kid. They're driving a nice car because they have a lot of disposable income.
Saints have always won.
Life hasn't hit them in the face with a brick yet. But they don't have memories of the Saints being bad, which is crazy to me.
Which is good. Good for them.
That's great for
you
them.
know,
I
I'm
applaud
envious.
them.
That's all we have.
We loved the Dome Patrol so much
that's-
because they kept us. We won back then.
But
we did win. We never won anything big, but
our
we
memories
won.
of having that taste of success, and then just the years of just horror that followed. It's kind of like it's why we are the way that we are. I mean, it's hard to put it any other way. But what you're saying about Pat Swilling, so like what people don't understand is
that Pat Swilling was a defensive player of the year in the NFL one year, led the league in sacks, won the best defensive player, 4-time All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowlers. He was 4-time All-Pro with us. He left when we traded him for a first-round pick,
Which turned into Willie Rowe.
which we drafted Willie Rofe.
Yeah.
And he made a Pro Bowl the ensuing year with Detroit, had 107 sacks. For 5 years, debatably, if Reggie White didn't exist, the most dominant pass rusher in the NFL for 5 years.
For that
He
stretch.
had some for that stretch.
Yeah.
He had some injuries. It slowed him down. Detroit, he started out great and he kind of faded off. So he didn't have a very long dominant career.
right.
But for 5 to 6 years, was a top 5 NFL defensive player without a doubt.
Okay, so let me ask you this: would you say Demario, body of work, whole career?
His career is not as
Pat
impressive
Swilling.
as Pat Swilling's career, in my
Right,
opinion.
and I agree with that. Now we're talking about Swilling was the third best member of the Dome Patrol
For a career.
for a career.
He may have had the best season ever by a Dome Patrol guy
Yeah,
in
agreed.
that Defensive Player of the Year season. But for a career, and Demario, I would say there is a chance Demario could catch him on a career, but Demario's now what? 3-time All-Pro, or did he just get his 4th? He just got his 4th.
He's 3 or 4. Yeah, I'm not sure.
But lest we forget his first
Pro Bowl, right?
Just-
Which is
just
funny. That's
terrible.
a Saints thing.
I mean-
because like Ramchek's made 3 All-Pros and 0 Pro Bowls.
Yeah.
Well, as a first selection,
It's
I think he made
such an us thing to happen.
It's a weird. Yeah, it makes no sense.
So
How do you
Demario is a 4-time All-Pro, 1-time first,
3-time
3-time
second. Right. So he's right on the cusp, and he's moving up that all-time tackles list now. I think he's climbed into the top 30, maybe the top 25 in NFL history. If he gets 2 more seasons like that, then I'd give the nod to Demario.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything he could do to reach the other 2 guys. It would be very hard.
Which in order are?
In order is Sam Mills, then Ricky Jackson.
Yeah, that's.
I think
tough,
that's fair.
though. It's
mean-
fair. No, that's fair, but it's tough.
Sam Mills was dominant for a decade. Ricky
With
Jackson,
2 teams,
the same.
too.
Yeah, with 2 teams. Now a Hall of Famer. See, the Hall of Fame debate on Demario is still iffy.
Sure.
Yeah.
He's very, very close. He didn't make the All-Decade team, but he's 4-time All-Pro. I mean, with us, if his whole career was just Saints,
Yeah.
then we'd be having a different talk.
So for people that don't understand how, I think when people look at Sam Mills, they see pictures of him. They see a dude with the old school face mask with the middle bar going
hell
down, and they're looking at him and he looks he looks shorter than
I mean, he was
Boston
what,
Scott.
5'8", 5'9"?
And
I think he was 5'9".
so what is it if you had prime Sam Mills in the locker room right now? What is it that Sam Mills would bring to the table to say, all right, Demario, like, you're going to play special teams?
They'd be on the field together.
They'd be on the field together, yeah.
They'd
Okay.
move, they'd
Vaughn
move
Johnson
Demario
would be
over.
playing
Well,
special
Sam Mills
Well,
would
then-
get the middle spot for sure.
Well, put it this
and
way.
they put Demario.
Demario's probably weak side linebacker.
He would be. Yeah.
What is it that Sam Mills brought back in the day that you can't replace? That
Heart,
no one
heart
that
and
no one has
passion,
now.
dude. Heart and passion.
I
He
think
was-
they're very similar in that aspect.
They
though.
are. And look,
He
I
was
think
so intelligent. So was Demario
Yeah.
with us. I think Demario's career just took a little longer to get going.
Sure.
Well, hold on. Let's throw Vilma into the mix.
Yeah,
Right there's out of-
Vilma doesn't have enough on tape. I mean, like the injuries took him out. They took him out.
He's just got that Super Bowl ring.
His best years were incredible, but his greatness was very short.
Oh man,
no one had more. I don't remember anybody having more pop to their hits than Vilma.
I absolutely love Vilma. Vilma did not have the longevity to
They
be
didn't have
in
the longevity, but I mean,
No way.
I think he just instilled fear. I mean,
Never all pro, I don't
this
believe.
is a bit of an offshoot from Dome Patrol versus present day, but I remember one game when Darren McFadden was playing for the Raiders, and it was back before everybody was all spread happy and West Coast crazy, and the Raiders said, you know what, we're going to run an ISO. We're going to run Darren McFadden right up the middle. And Vilma was like, great. And I just remember Vilma, who had a weight and height disadvantage on McFadden. And you thought if McFadden...
Sam Mills size-ish.
If McFadden is running downhill, you're thinking, all right, well, Vilma's going to tackle him, but he's probably going to, stop him and then drag him down. Vilma took McFadden off of his cleats. I mean, it was clean pop.
I think you can definitively say those are the three best middle linebackers in Saints history. In some order, it's probably Sam Mills, then Demario, and then Vilma. But those are your three guys.
Sure. That makes sense. Now,
Vilma gets bonus points because he was on the championship team, but his longevity.
Man, Vilma's my guy. That dude
It doesn't compare. Longevity. We're talking about careers. It doesn't compare with the other two guys. It just.
I don't know, man. Look at Vilma's stats because Demario had a rough start to his NFL career. He didn't really take off till he got here.
Vilma was already a star with the Jets, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, he was at least top something in the OC. I mean, call it 3-5. I mean, he was.
Man,
I remember,
to me, it's a toss-up between Vilma and Demario. I think Sam Mills is...
But he never was all-pro. He was on much worse defenses.
Which
overall.
which might up him in the category. If he's doing what he's doing on a worse defense with a lesser
But doing what he's
supporting
doing,
cast,
what do you mean? I mean, he's the
I think what
orchestrator.
he's saying is his surrounding cast wasn't as good as what Demario had.
if he's producing and leading a defense to a
Let's
conference
think about it.
championship.
So we signed Demario what year? 17 or 18?
Same year as the draft, right? 17?
Okay, so then we had Lattimore step in, playing at a Pro Bowl level right out of the gates. We had Cam in his prime. Who else did we have on that team?
I mean, I hear you, but we had Will Smith, who was great for those years.
No, and that's a great point.
Right, the Saints have had Demario 2018 to present.
2018. Okay, so
We
he was
signed him in-
Lattimore's second year.
Yeah, we signed. Okay.
So you had Lattimore at prime Lattimore levels.
Yeah, and
Cam in prime Cam levels. Who else was on that team? That was Von Bell still, right? At safety.
yeah, Bell and Williams.
Oh yeah, Marcus Williams. Jesus. Okay, so he was been surrounded by some good players. So Vilma,
I think they all just bring different things to the table.
they do, and honestly, they're both great.
What year did we sign Vilma?
JV would have been the Super Bowl year, right? No.
Yeah.
No, it was before that.
Was he on the 06 team? Was he one of those 06?
No,
when
that
was that
was all the
trade?
white linebackers. Semino,
Fujita.
Shanley.
2008, right? 2008.
Yeah.
It was the year before the
2008,
Super Bowl year.
The year before the Super Bowl.
Right.
Okay. So, best trade in Saints history, maybe. Because that was actually a trade.
Yeah, absolutely. A fourth round pick and a conditional pick in the 2009 draft. Ultimately,
And that was because he had the knee injury. He
Right.
had already made a Pro Bowl
Thank
with
you.
them.
Thank you, Jets.
Right? He made a Pro Bowl early in his career. He was defensive rookie of the year, I believe.
Yeah.
yeah.
There was a big contingency of Saints fans, myself included, that really wanted to draft him.
Yeah.
I was there.
The draft
He was
came
incredible.
out.
But
We could have had
The
him.
Jets bailed on him because of the knee injury, which ended up getting him in the end. But we got multiple, 4 great years out of him.
Right.
From 8, 9, 10, 11, I would say. When did he leave the league? What year? 14?
We had him till 13.
13?
Yep.
So yeah, so we had a short stint with him. If you really look at 8 to 13,
But it's arguably, or maybe not even arguably, it was his best stint.
but 2 Pro Bowls while he's here compared to 4 All Pros from Demario.
He was the leader
You sure
of-
you want to make that assessment?
Well, he was the leader of a Super Bowl winning defense.
I'll say this: it's debatable.
Stats be damned.
a
top
Super
10.
Bowl winning offensive minded team.
But would you rather them be okay, we sing Dennis Allen's praises. I'm not saying we're wrong for doing it by saying he brought us a top 10 ranked defense for more than 2 seasons or more than 1
4 now.
season.
Right.
Yeah, whatever it was. But would you rather have that and maybe 2 or 3 playoff wins or have a 15th ranked defense in one Super Bowl over 5 years.
If we had that, then we'd have 3 or 4 Super Bowls. Our issue was that defense wasn't good enough. Let's not forget San Francisco 2 years later after the Super Bowl. Let's not forget the Seattle playoff failure. The defense is why we failed.
That Seattle game, though, we
hearing
rolled
all
in
that
with
ifs. I mean, like, what do you...
Look, the Seattle game, we rolled in with like our 5th string running
The
back.
defense wasn't good. The
Yeah,
defense
but the
wasn't
offense was not at all equipped to
I'm not
handle
talking about an if. I mean, you have two...
Was he not on the worst defense in the history of the NFL?
3-year periods to choose from.
I'm just saying. Wasn't he on that team?
That was the
What year was the
Yes.
worst defense
Yeah,
in
he was.
NFL
Yes.
history?
With Spagnuolo.
Yes. I love the guy. You're comparing him to Mario. Demario's career, to me, with the Saints especially, is definitively better.
I think it's closer than you're saying, but I probably would take Demario over him. All things considered.
And
It's
I'm
not
a
a
huge fan
slam
of both.
dunk.
Huge fan of both.
Yeah, you're right.
Huge
well,
fan.
let's talk about the one that nobody can argue about. Let's talk about
J.J.
Ricky. Let's
McCleskey?
talk about yeah, that guy. Ricky Jackson.
I thought you were going to say Baker Mayfield.
No, we're talking about Dome Patrol.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, I'm off Baker. Carolina Panthers, we don't,
Yeah. No, Ricky
Ricky's
was
the greatest.
Ricky's the greatest, man. He
That's
look,
what,
after Breeze?
well, that's what Cam's chasing, is to be the greatest Saints defensive player ever.
Yeah, and right now it's Ricky.
But is there
It's
anything
Ricky.
about anything that Cam's done that could compare to Ricky?
No.
I mean, because look, like we
Cam
said,
has one season.
I was
that-
young when Ricky played, but I mean, when a guy's that good, he stands out in your memory, even if you're like a young
Man,
child.
remember being a little
And
kid.
I'll tell you this, though, they are semi-similar, too, because Ricky could play everything defensively,
Everything.
and Cam can play everything. I just think Ricky is a superior pass rusher to Cam.
I don't know that.
Oh, absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
Would you say Ricky had some ability to drop back on like a zone blitz and have a little bit of coverage, like zone coverage?
They used
about
to
him?
drop Ricky out. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know that Cam can really do that.
Well, no, you're talking about a defensive end versus an outside linebacker.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like
That's-
what Nick's saying is that they can both do everything. I think
Well,
Ricky was more
I meant
versatile.
run and pass. I mean,
Running, he means
being,
running pass.
not being that pure pass rusher. Neither of them are that. They were
Yeah.
complete defensive
Okay.
ends or outside
So you
linebackers.
didn't
whatever
mean
you
everything
wanna
is
call
in like
Well, but keep in mind, the Saints,
situationally versatile. You
Hold on,
mean
the Saints
run
were
pass.
running. The Saints were
it.
running.
Keep
a
in mind,
3-4.
dropping in coverage back
different
then
defense, of course.
It's
right.
a different defense.
was not necessary.
Right,
That's
and also,
true.
but the biggest thing is, like I just said, Saints were running a 3-4 defense during the Dome Patrol. Saints
Oh, yeah.
run a 4-3. You don't see
Oh, yeah.
3-4 much at all in the NFL anymore. So
A true
Cam is a
3-4,
true 4-3 defensive end. You know, shit. I mean, he could.
In all honesty, when we drafted Cam, we thought he was the non-pass rushing defensive end in a 4-3 scheme.
yeah,
he was
well, he's a left end.
right.
Yeah, that's what he
Because
is.
Cal ran at 3-4 back when we drafted him.
Right. So Ricky Jackson, what do you weigh? Like 245? He was 6'2", 245,
He had
I
to have
think.
been 250,
He's an
right?
outside linebacker. Him and Swilling were the outside guys. They were
Yeah.
essentially pass rushers.
Well, that was the day of the linebacker being.
Well,
like,
you had LT,
stock,
who was a linebacker,
but like
and
a
pass
stock
rusher.
250. Like
Let me tell you about a guy named Lawrence Taylor. You probably don't remember.
I
him,
know
but-
who the hell Lawrence Taylor was.
Do you?
Let me tell you the difference
I think
between
we know
Ricky and Cam.
LT.
Okay, and again, I love Cam. Cam's big drawback to me until the last couple of years, where he has the longevity and is, in my mind, now a definitive Hall of Famer, NFL Hall of Famer.
Agreed.
His one knock for me was forcing turnovers. The great pass rushing defensive ends always force fumbles.
Yeah, force
Yeah.
fumbles,
Right.
yeah.
That's what they do. LT, you just said LT.
being the best.
They don't just want to knock the ball out. Like they want to eat the ball for breakfast.
They want to.
Like,
they want to.
they want to knock
Well, there
it
was
out.
the SWAT.
They want the
move.
triple
were
crown.
looking
They
for
want to
the-
swat it, pick it
Yeah.
up, and they want to run with it.
They wanna-
They want
they
to
wanna
force
pick the-
fumble recovery, sack.
Yeah, that's what I mean, like,
Ricky
they wanna pick the
Jackson
ball up
was
and-
great at that.
Ricky Jackson, I don't know the exact numbers. Max, look this up. I'm gonna say Ricky Jackson probably had somewhere in the 40s of forced fumbles, and Cam is probably around 10
in a career.
in a career. That's a huge difference when you're talking about an impact.
Well, it's like
guy.
friend.
I
of a-
could be wrong on Cam. Maybe
Well,
I'm underselling him a little bit.
I think that's why like he was such a friend of the pod, Peanut Tillman. Him doing what he did
yeah.
when in the modern day was just such a shock to everybody because that it's not to say it's not part of the game, but just there weren't that many defensive players who were so effective at getting the ball out in the modern
secondary.
day.
Vito was a fucking.
I mean, that ball's coming
magnet
out.
to the
Like
ball,
if
man.
In the secondary, he changed the game.
But
So
back in
come
the
out.
day,
How many forced fumbles did you say?
I'm gonna say Ricky's plus 40 and Cam's 10 to 15.
Ricky had 40.
wow, on the
That's
money,
spot on, dude.
on the
Spot
button?
on.
Damn.
Well,
Cam.
now here's the thing. You got to realize, like, this is what he and I have talked about for the
Yeah, I
30
mean-
years we've known each other.
I'm just saying, on the button, 40. I mean, I get it if he's like, you probably
Okay, hold on. Let's test
35
it.
and
Cam,
45.
what you got for Cam?
I'm calling it in the low teens. I don't know exactly. I'm gonna say
But you hit the
I'm
last
gonna
one on
say
the button.
14.
15.
Oh,
That's pretty good.
man.
Close. Hell yeah. All right.
So that's
pretty
a
good.
huge difference when you're talking about impact.
I mean,
Turnovers.
That's possessions in a ball
Yeah,
game.
that's what changes games. So Ricky was elite at that. That's why I have him kind of above everyone.
If you had a guy,
Well, Jesus, Ricky had 8 interceptions.
Ricky was a freak. I feel like most
That's
Saints
what-
fans know that. I don't think that's a secret.
I got one
think
for you. How many fumble recoveries
Well-
does Ricky have?
recoveries. That's harder.
I don't. That's what I'm saying. I think
20.
29.
That's amazing.
That's
So that's
insane.
69 fumbles impacted.
If
That's
you-
a crazy
can you
number. I'm just
imagine-
telling you.
That's nuts.
That's a Hall of Fame number by
it goes
itself.
back to why we were comparing Vilma to either Demario or Sam Mills.
That's
And it
also
goes-
Demario's knock, by the way,
But
is
it-
he doesn't force
Well,
turnovers.
it goes. But my point is that
Under
if
10
we're
in his
talking about the
career, I bet.
best inside defender or linebacker for Breeze's prime, being Vilma, because Vilma was there for the Super Bowl year, he was there for the 2011 year, and if Vilma's the best we had at that position, can you imagine having a guy like Ricky when Breeze was in there, giving Breeze the ball that many extra times? I mean, I think that's it.
If they would, I'm just telling
there's
you.
a lot of woulda, coulda, shoulda with the
100%.
Saints Super Bowl era and Bounty Gate and all that stuff, but like,
And we can
I
complain
think
about
even
everything,
more than
but-
Bounty Gate. I mean, if we had just like sold out one of those years for a game, you're not going to just sign a Ricky Jackson. I'm not saying that Ricky Jackson was out there. There wasn't one, but if you could have got a guy somewhere between Vilma and
They
Ricky,
could have. They had opportunities. They chose not to
during
do it.
Breeze's prime. I mean, you're giving the goat.
It's my
the
biggest
ball
knock of
that many more
Loomis
times
in his career. He did nothing to fix the pass rush that we did not have
Yeah.
for Breeze's 7 years of his prime. We were a below average pass rushing team. Cam was the only presence, if we're being honest, after Will Smith was gone. Will Smith had some really great years. Once he moved on, Cam started his career very slow as a pass rusher and
He did.
then hit his stride
Yeah, I remember that.
towards
Yeah.
the back end of Drew's career. He wasn't in his prime when Drew was truly in his early 30 prime.
right.
They didn't overlap.
Yeah.
They
But-
kind of came separately.
But I still
when
don't think, like-
Cam became elite, Drew was just starting to come off of that.
Okay, hold on. I want to throw this out there. So,
What did I say in Demario?
well, Demario Davis,
I'm gonna
three
say
career interceptions, 7 fumble recoveries.
I said 10 or less.
So he's got 10 on
10
the
total.
nose. What do you think Vilma has?
More than that.
Oh,
For sure.
yeah.
Forced or recovered?
I'm gonna say Vilma has double digits in both.
Yes.
I'll say he had 14 picks and. Are we doing fumble recoveries or fumble
recoveries.
recoveries?
So he has 12 interceptions,
Okay, I said 14. I'm gonna say the same thing. 14 fumble recovery.
10 fumble recoveries.
Okay, so I oversold him a little.
So he had 11 forced fumbles,
Yeah,
and Demario has
2.
3.
Yeah, 2 or 3. I knew that.
That's a big difference on turnovers.
It
man.
is 100%. But
That to me, that tightens the. I still agree with you. I'd probably take Demario over him, but I think that tightens the debate's a little closer than we think.
it's again, I love the guy.
I love
Just-
both of them.
Demario's
Those are
run
2 of my
here-
10 favorite Saints ever.
Demario's run here is one of the top. I mean,
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and it's still going. So he's still writing the.
he's 4 All-Pros in 5 years with the Saints.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Demario.
Him in coverage is
You would like to see a few more turnovers, though.
100%. Yes. That's his weakness and it's Cam's weakness, and it's the only weaknesses, if you ask me. And that's why maybe our defenses haven't been elite. Is that we don't, and Marshawn first year, great turnover producer. Since then, kind of lower level. he was leading the league in
Yeah.
passes defense when he went out this year, but he didn't have any interceptions. He had one when he came back, pick six. Where was that? Where's the pick six? What game was that? It sealed the game, whichever it was.
I remember that. Can't tell you what.
But
I think it was when we were playing the Baker Mayfield Panthers. It was that game.
did he seal that game? Maybe. You might be right. I don't know. I can't remember.
That was
I do remember it was like it clinched the game.
That was a Baker
in
Mayfield
fourth quarter.
joke about my misreference.
But no, I like the reference.
It didn't land. Didn't really land.
I was surprised.
You're leaning
To be
in
honest.
heavy.
Yeah, you're going a little too heavy on it.
It
Actually,
ha-
so
it
here's
happens.
one.
I do that sometimes.
Who's your favorite Saints defensive back of all time, and why is it Johnny Poe?
I love Johnny Poe because that's pure entertainment. That guy could lose a ball in perfect position more than I take it back.
There's somebody worse.
What was the guy's name? Holy shit!
Jason David?
No, he was terrible. He was
We're not
just
even
terrible.
talking about him. Corey Cook was something.
Who was the corner that was always in perfect position and got beat every goddamn time? The guy would play
Give me an
perfect
era.
leverage.
Yeah, whatever.
No, more recent than anything. It's not Bro. Who was that? I used to say that all the time.
Oh, Delvin Breaux had some tough beats, dude.
Where he'd be in the guy's hip pocket and the
he'd
ball would
look
go
up and
through
get
his
eye-
arms.
His eyes would get
Through
lost
his
in the
arms
light of the
for a
Superdome.
touchdown.
Yeah, no, those were rough. Those were tough.
Truthfully, my favorite Saints defensive back of all time? Or who's the best Saints defensive back of all time?
I mean, you got to say Lattimore almost. It's
It's
close,
between
man.
two for me. It's between Sammy Knight and Lattimore.
Lat's better than Knight.
He's a much better player, but fucking Sammy Knight turned the ball over like a freak. Look
was
that
just
up.
always
I bet you he had 30 interceptions in his career.
He was just
Yeah,
always
but
around the ball.
How many years was he with us? Like 4.
6?
Let's see.
He was at least 6 years with us.
I don't know, man. We're about to see. So Sammy Knight.
Dave Waymer's in that conversation.
Yeah, okay. He played 6 seasons with us.
30 picks? 29? Something like
With us, he had 28.
that. There you go.
That's pretty freaking good.
You sure
That's-
it wasn't...
That's 5 a year almost. That's pretty good, consistent turning the ball over. He was a really good player for us.
Yeah, he was.
Are we sure we're not leaving out to Bucky Jones and Brandon Browner? Triggering intensifies.
Brandon Browner started out okay, briefly, and then it was like, oh, we're in bad shape.
Yeah.
Dude, Sammy Knight had 42 career interceptions.
Yeah, he's underrated big time.
He was just always around the ball. Always.
Look up Dave Waymer too. Dave Waymer.
Yeah, he was a good player.
Dave Waymer was a very good player. If Ronnie Lott didn't exist, there had been a few years there, he would have been in the Pro Bowl every year.
I mean,
He had 48 interceptions.
Yeah. Dave Waymer was a borderline Hall of Famer on a better if he was on a little bit better team that won something, he would have been Hall of
Jesus.
Famer.
look, we all know the issues with him, but for that 1 year, do we not have to talk about Darren Sharper?
I mean, you have to.
It's the greatest
I mean,
season.
It's the best season.
It
It's the best defensive back season in Saints history.
It was unreal.
And you're talking about Vilma and all that. The guy who changed that defense was Darren Sharper.
Yeah. And
Nine
I was thinking,
interceptions that year.
11 turnovers total,
how many?
I think.
He had multiple pick sixes on his
Yeah.
own.
Well, the really impressive thing is
He forced 11 turnovers.
Well, the yardage on his returns is
Yeah.
unreal. Hold on, I'm about to pull it up.
Yeah.
It went sideways after that, but
Yeah, but
On multiple.
But-
listen to this. You ready for this? 9 interceptions, 376 yards in returns.
Yeah, that's
2 touchdowns.
crazy.
I think.
3 touchdowns, along of 99 yards.
Because we're talking about a guy like Ricky.
he honestly
What-
should have been the defensive player of the year
That's
that year.
insanity.
And he did,
We're talking about
and
how
he didn't get it.
if you had a guy like Ricky, somebody who could have given Drew the ball back. Well, like Sharper was like, well, I'll just do one better. I'll just go score.
Yeah,
Like, I'm
and
not
look,
even-
look.
I'm not even going to give the quarterback the
we're
ball
not
back.
gonna-
That defense was not great, and that's all.
Well, they
Drew
were
needed to win.
opportunistic.
They were
which is the
turnover
thing, yeah.
dependent.
They led the league in turnovers,
Yeah.
39, I think. You can check that. But I think they had 39 turnovers in 16 games. 2.5 turnovers a game.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
an insane number.
And look,
And Brady's won the Super Bowl.
we're not gonna litigate Sharper and his laundry list of
No, we all know.
shenanigans.
Yeah.
But the
Well,
reality,
all of that's going to keep him from the NFL Hall of Fame, which he
As it
should
should.
be in. No, he should be
the
in that,
reality
if it's just
is
about football.
that is the best defensive.
His crimes
Listen,
definitely
Baseball doesn't care.
trump that.
Only baseball cares about that.
Yeah, that is without question
they-
the best defensive back season in Saints history.
Yeah.
Should have won Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah. It was
Look, that's
only
a whole
1
other
year, though.
topic. Should that keep him out of?
He fell off a cliff after that year with the Saints.
Oh, no, he was out of the
no.
league 2 years later.
The crime he was charged with in Louisiana was punishable by death until the Louisiana Supreme Court, until the U.S.
and he was
Supreme
charged in
Court
3
stepped in.
states. But
He was
Again,
charged in
we're
multiple
not-
states.
we're-
Yes,
we're
it's
talking-
absolutely.
Arizona, California.
Here's the deal. We're
We
talking.
shouldn't even have a pot on that because, like, yes, the answer is yes, it should keep from the NFL Hall of Fame. But we will say you're right. That year,
No, we're
was
talking
incredible.
strictly his
As a
numbers.
football-
We're
as a
not
foot-
talking about him as a person.
I thought you meant NFL Hall of
Corey,
Fame.
O.J. Simpson is in the Hall of Fame. Okay?
Well,
So-
you talk about that.
Didn't he get inducted before Nicole Brown and all that
He's
stuff?
still in there.
He's still in the Hall of Fame. They didn't kick him out.
Well, that's a Canton problem, but no, I agree with you, Max. That year that Sharper had
Listen,
football
I'm
only
not
was
defending.
great.
I'm not defending Darren Sharper's personal.
I know you're
life.
not. I know you're not.
I'm talking strictly his numbers.
Yes.
His numbers alone, he is a Hall of Famer. Now he's not going to get in the Hall
He
of
has
Fame
Hall
because
of
of his
Fame
extracurriculars.
Numbers, correct.
100% he's a Hall of Famer. It's from football stats only.
Yeah.
He has Hall of Fame numbers. He's not a Hall of Famer.
Well, it's the same thing. He's a Hall of
Disagree.
Famer based on the numbers. Now, should he be in the Hall of Fame? That's a different
There
debate.
should never be a bust of Darren Sharper in Canton. Sorry to anybody who's close with him.
That's fine. We're talking strictly on the numbers. Based on the numbers, that's a Hall
He
of
has
Fame.
Hall of Fame numbers. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's all we're talking about here. We're not talking about whether he should be in there based on whatever, what he's done.
Yeah. We're not playing morality police. We're just saying,
No, you're right.
as a
This is not our
player,
job.
his career was a Hall of Fame
It's
career.
a Hall of Fame career.
Yeah.
Whether or not he is in the Hall of Fame is a different story.
Yeah. If
I
his
could
career
care
Hall of
less.
Fame
If you
honestly.
take the name off the
whatever they
jersey-
do to him, I'm fine with. He
Well, it's
deserves
like when
all
they do
of
those
it.
player A, player B comparisons, and they're both like, you can't see their names or their faces. It's like if
The question is,
if you did
if
that
you-
with him, then yeah. If you compare
It's
it
a
to
Hall of Fame career.
yeah.
Do you
I
want
agree.
the Hall
No, I
of
agree with
Fame
that.
to represent what happened in NFL history, or do you want the Hall of Fame to honor the particular players and their lifestyles and everything else?
I mean, I think
See, that's a great question.
I think that's. I mean, I think that's obvious. I think that when you have a guy who was indicted and convicted of one of the
But there are plenty
most
of those players
serious-
in Hall of Fames right now. That's what I'm saying. Baseball, especially the early 1900s.
Well, then I
very
would
horrible
I
people.
would disagree with any Hall of Fames that now I know that they're not just going to kick him out because of what I say on a podcast, but I think that I disagree.
I wish you had that power, Corey.
Yeah, right. Have you
Corey
listened to this
said
podcast?
you're not in the Hall of Fame.
That's how good this podcast is. No, I disagree with any Hall of Fames that me personally keeping guys like that in or guys that have that on their record. But again, we're not the moral police. We're not here to talk about.
No.
I could go all lawyer on you if I wanted to about crimes and this and that, but that's just my take on
Well, you look, and it's
I don't think that an aggravated rapist should have a bust of himself in the NFL Hall of Fame, and I'm not apologizing
we're not
for that take.
advocating for him.
We're not telling you should think that. I'm just saying there are people like that in the Hall of Fames currently.
Then they shouldn't be there
It's
either.
They probably shouldn't. But
But again, that's a Canton problem, or that's a Cooperstown
right,
thing.
that's a NFL Hall of Fame.
That's not a 28-3 podcast problem.
No, it's not. But it
What was
brings
his
up-
career interceptions? Did he eclipse 50?
Sharper? He's in the 40s, I believe. I'll
He
look it
was
up.
getting
He's close to 50, I think.
What? He was getting close to Rod Woodson at one point. I remember there was a conversation about that. That I think he had the record, and if he played it a little bit longer,
No, the record's what, 65?
Oh my God, he had
He's 50.
63.
yeah, he was close. He was close. I remember that came up on the radio that if
I mean,
he,
that's a Hall of Fame.
That's
He
a
was-
Hall of Fame career, dude.
What's
Yeah,
the
look,
record?
I'm not gonna.
72?
We're not
Max,
here
is
to
the record
litigate
72?
whether he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
That body of work he put up in his career,
It's Hall of Fame
is
numbers.
Hall of Fame career.
The guy he played next to for a bunch of years.
I don't think anybody's going to tell you that if things didn't go the way they went legally for him, no one's going to tell you that he wouldn't have been in the Hall of Fame without that. Yeah,
But that-
he's a consensus Hall of Famer without the legal stuff. That's an easy answer, I think.
Corey, where do you stand on steroids?
Lance Armstrong, favorite cyclist.
Look, and it's a good debate, man. And I think honestly, the tide of public opinion has drastically shifted in the past, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. People were much more, I guess, focused on.
It's out there more.
It's out there more. And look, when in the social media age,
And it
it's
should
out
be,
there
and
more.
that's a good thing that it's out there more.
Yeah.
But, whether you want to, it's still a part of NFL history,
You can,
regardless,
Yeah.
because the Saints Super Bowl probably doesn't exist without him.
It doesn't.
As bad a person as
he
he
should
turned
have
out to
won
be.
Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, he
Well, I
should
think,
have.
yeah. I mean, like I said, there's so many little ways for this to turn into a non-podcast conversation, because I think if you're talking about the problems that a lot of the marketing problems the NFL has, a lot of the image problems the NFL has, is that, I mean,
we're not here to litigate.
No,
that.
that's what I'm
We're
saying.
strictly talking about his body
That's why I
of
just
work and
prefaced it.
stats.
That's why I just prefaced it with
The guy's a piece of shit.
This isn't a
off the field.
podcast. This isn't a podcast problem. This is something that, like, this conversation could easily slip into all the shit the NFL has to deal with. I mean, you think they're doing all these, like, campaigns every other week where, like, the team's got some other kind of color scheme every single week because the NFL thinks it's fun. Like, they're wearing camo this week. They're doing crucial catch the next week.
Yeah,
they're doing pink
It's
the
all
next.
about money.
It's because, do we think the NFL as a corporation really cares as a company?
No, they don't.
They're trying to save their image, and it's obvious.
Look at our
And
guy.
so,
At our guy Mike Freeman, who just got canned because he was questioning
So,
Goodell.
you know, like, the NFL's got no moral compass
They have none.
in and of itself. So if we're talking about,
So put him in the Hall of Fame, right?
well, I think that's why they
Corey
can't.
advocating for Darren Sharper
You
in the
just
Hall of
flipped
Fame
on
based
us.
on the NFL.
No, but
lack
that's
of
why-
They
moral
don't care
compass.
about anything.
That's why
Put him
they
in.
won't. If they're going through the hoops to
It's fake image, right?
to find players if they're not wearing crucial catch socks on any given Sunday, then they're definitely not going to put in a golden bust of a guy who's been convicted of one of the worst crimes that's on the books.
But they'll let a murderer
again.
stay
But
in.
like Mike said, we're not here to litigate that shit. Like
No,
that's. But
we just did it and we fixed it.
yeah, it's fixed. Right. That's it's a bold statement. That's like saying that.
Well, hold on. So for the record, Darren Sharper is 8th in
time.
NFL
What's the
history,
record, 72?
all-time
74?
interceptions with 63, tied with Ronnie Lott. Ed Reed, 7th with 64.
Yeah.
Charles Woodson and Ken Riley
65.
with 65. My guy, Dick
Night
Night Train
Train
Lane, with 68. Rod Woodson was 71. Somebody named Emlyn Tunnel,
Yeah.
79. And then
Giants.
Paul Krause with 81.
81.
That's absurd.
Fucking ball. 81?
15-year career, 81 interceptions. That's insanity.
That's still 6 a year
Did Nick
almost.
just say
well, it's
funk-
5.5 a
Did
year.
Nick just say
Unreal.
funky butt loving?
Night Train Lane, bro.
That's never getting broken. 81's never getting broken.
Well, this brings up a good one. Most random favorite old school player we weren't old enough to watch.
Deacon Jones.
Yes, that's the fucking answer right there.
Head
The
slap,
head
baby.
slap, baby. Look at Corey. He doesn't even know who Deacon Jones is.
I know the name, but
Oh, my God.
All-time leading sack leader if they
I
count
love
them all.
how Max at times gets mad at me for just not existing.
So do we
Like,
realize,
I can't
Corey,
believe you just weren't even
If
born
only
yet.
you weren't younger than me.
Corey, we weren't.
How did you not form memories when you were 6 months old?
Corey, we weren't. We weren't.
No,
born
we weren't born when he played.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Corey, do you know where the term sack comes from?
That's a loaded question.
No, the NFL term sack.
Oh, football. Yeah.
Where does it come from?
I don't know.
Deacon Jones. He coined the term sack.
How did he do that?
What was it he said? He wanted to put quarterbacks in this. Oh, shit, I'm going to get it
Quarterback
wrong.
sack, something like that.
Yeah.
The funny thing is,
So, like, if he hadn't-
actually,
So he would be the all-time...
he has 0 career sacks though.
Right, because they weren't tracking sacks
Because they weren't
as
tracking
an official
sacks.
stat. He would be the
wow.
all-time sack leader in the NFL history if they were tracking sacks.
Reggie may have passed that.
so he has
may have
tackled
passed
a
that.
quarterback behind the line of scrimmage. It
Bruce.
just wasn't recorded.
Bruce Smith, probably.
Right, he had the lead. I think Bruce Smith actually broke the number that they gave him.
Yeah.
But he only played a 12-game season
On a
his whole career
postmortem,
too.
Yeah.
So his whole career was that 12-game season, and he had the record until Bruce Smith broke it, I believe.
Yeah. Deacon Jones was the man.
He would just punch people in the head.
The head slap.
with a helmet.
So, Corey, what he did,
was
he
amazing.
literally would cup his hand, and he would swing it. So, the hole in the helmet, they outlawed it, the head slap, because he would cup his hand and smack it right
Oh, he
in
came
there.
up with the term ear-holing people.
Yeah.
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 So he would have, like today, he would get 35 personal fouls a game.
Well, he couldn't because he'd be ejected before, the next one.
That's true. Now you only get 2.
So, look at this.
What a shame. We've ruined the game.
So, Deacon Jones,
Want to go back to the rule change discussion?
hold on. 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, 5-time First-Team All-Pro, 3-time Second-Team All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowl, 5-time sack leader.
Yeah. Well, that's all in hindsight. There was no such thing as sacks. They're just calling him 5-time sack leader. 8-time All-Pro is pretty lofty territory.
Yeah, that's serious. That's serious. You put him ahead of Rick Jackson?
Yes, by a lot.
That's
Like saying, is Lawrence Taylor and Reggie White better than Ricky Jackson? Yes, they are.
Okay.
That's the next best thing.
How about this? In 1967, he had 21 and a half sacks in 14 games, and then he had 22 sacks in 14 games the next year.
Yeah, he was a freak. I think. Never saw him.
Yeah. Well, before we totally wrap this up, are there any other Saints?
Did we settle the
White-
Dome Patrol debate, Corey?
Actually, let's circle
I
back.
don't think y'all
so
even.
Corey,
I don't think
after
y'all
the,
even allowed it to be a debate.
So Corey, after
I mean,
the
We ranked them.
after the argument, or not the argument, after our argument that we have laid before the judge here, what do you think? Was our statement convincing enough for you to say that maybe it was foolish to compare Pete Werner and Demario Davis to the Dome Patrol?
I never compared them. I asked a question first off,
Okay.
counselor, but I think you have both laid out a very
Eloquently stated.
I think you both have laid out a very compelling case for why the question should not even be asked. Even if the question posed was, is Warner Demario a Dome Patrol light, considering how much you sung their praises earlier before I asked that question?
Well, I feel like you need at least 3 of them to even be compared to the
Well,
Dome
that's
Patrol.
why I
Jonathan
said
Abram.
light. Maybe I should have said 0 calorie or Heineken 0. I don't know, but like,
It's a good question.
Y'all laid out a very compelling case as to why. To me, here's the thing. Here's the thing that's going to sway the court's opinion on this matter is that it's the intensity of the Dome Patrol. It's that they had enough talent and purpose to where, and they had enough variety to where they'd never let up. You had, even if you threw out Vaughn Johnson in the beginning, not faulting you for that, but like if he was number 4, but that dude was still a hoss. Like,
Do
that
you
dude-
remember
Pro
what
Bowler.
a freak
That dude-
show he was?
Multiple Pro Bowler.
Right. Like,
Bro, he was
incredible
like-
player.
You're talking about
wasn't he
another guy with
6'4", 260?
Yeah.
He was an animal.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
the exact opposite of Mills. They looked like
Right.
this. It was crazy.
You're talking
They
about a guy who's outweighs these quote unquote defensive end prospects in the 2023 NFL draft who could move better than any of the linebackers. And so you got that guy's number 4. Your number 3 guy is Nick gave his entire resume, and he's number 3. I mean, I think you're right. As good as Demario and Warner could ever be as a unit, because let's face it, we have 2 linebacker units now. We don't roll 3 deep unless we have to. I think the Dome Patrol has clearly laid out their case, and y'all have supported them through this, that they had everything you could ever want.
Yeah, I think
In
maybe,
a linebacker unit, in a diversity, talent, size, all that standpoint.
maybe the way I phrased Vaughn Johnson diminished him.
It did. It absolutely did.
But compared to those 3 guys, it's very difficult.
It's
but
hard-
he
no, it's
made
hard.
at least 3 Pro Bowls, maybe 4. I don't know if he made All Pro. He may have made.
looking it
Check
up.
it. He may have made an All Pro or 2. But there was a year we had all 4 of those guys in the Pro Bowl. That's insane. How do you have one team's whole linebacking core in the Pro Bowl?
Yeah, that
Can
was
you
92.
imagine if,
What's 92?
The all 4.
When they all 4 made it.
yeah, that picture
but-
of them all in
So
the Pro Bowl
Vaughn was
jerseys.
a second team All Pro
Okay.
in '89,
3 or
Pro
4.
Bowler.
4-time Pro Bowler. So that's an
Yeah.
excellent freaking player.
You know what I wish could happen? Like talk about movies that I have seen. If Back to the Future.
Bluey.
Well, I've seen Bluey. I've got twin 4-year-old daughters, dude. And it's not even a movie. It's like 8-minute episodes.
Wait, you've
But
actually seen Back to the Future?
I've seen all 3 of them. But
All right. There's hope for you yet.
But if Doc and McFly got the Dome Patrol into one of those games where Tom Brady was crushing an iPad, I think that would be like the best. That would just be the best annihilation ever. If he was having such a hard time with the unit we had out there, can you imagine putting those 4 guys across from him?
Man, I would have put Darren Sharper. in there.
Gosh. Like,
Darren Sharper to pick him off and score.
But that's how much you hate a Tom Brady or you hate a Falcons. It's like you just either of those, like the Bucks with Brady or the Falcons with literally anybody. You just want more. You want more destruction.
All-time hated opponent
Falcons.
as a Saints fan.
Falcons.
Well, as a team,
If
the
either of
Falcons
you
are-
tell me anyone other than the Falcons, I'm going to slap the shit
It's
out
not
of you.
the
and kick you
Falcons
off
for
of
me.
this. Yeah, I know you're going to say the 49ers.
Yeah,
I know you are.
Because the 49ers ruined my... the Falcons have
Yeah,
never
they ruined our
ruined anything
childhood.
for me.
I get it, but
I hate them, But they've never ruined anything for us. They've sucked so much. It's not,
No, but it's the close proximity and the fact
but
that
the
that
49ers
whole
ruined
city,
my dreams as a kid, like over and over again.
Yeah,
but that was like a 4-year stretch when
but
they
the
ruined
Falcons.
it.
But the
It was
Falcons
much longer than that.
Oh,
Falcons
dude,
started.
87. I'm sorry, 5 years. 87 to 92. That's when they ruined our stuff. They didn't ruin anything after that.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, the 2011 playoff game notwithstanding.
we just were in the wrong place, wrong time for
Dude.
being in the NFC West with Jerry Rice and even the Montana years, but especially the Steve Young
when we were
years.
good, they won 3 titles. Well, okay, the last title maybe not.
Well,
They won 2 titles.
Yeah, because that was 94.
Yeah, and
Steve Young.
we had sucked at that
we should
point,
have
you're right.
never been in their division.
No, we shouldn't have been. And that's why I was so
New Orleans is not West.
Yeah,
How
that
is
a
that
team,
NFC
the
West?
team from San Francisco and New Orleans are in the same division. That should have never happened.
They just ruined us.
Dude, I feel you, and they're probably my second.
What have the
rotated
Falcons
team.
really done to us other than Corey's worst game ever? Directly to us.
Existed. They just
It's not what they've done
With Breeze,
to us.
we just dominated the fucking Falcons.
Ah,
What was he?
you
Look up
remember
that record.
5 interception game he threw.
Look up his record. We won 65% of the games against the Falcons when Breeze was here. Guaranteed.
Well, the Falcons didn't make a Super Bowl when Breeze was here, but we all know what happened in that Super Bowl.
They did make one before and right after. They lost them both.
Yeah.
There is no other answer to this question than Falcons. But
Breeze versus Falcons. I want to know the numbers because that's about when they came in our division a couple years
19
prior.
and 10.
19 and 10. What's that percentage? 60 what percent? Help me out,
You're
Corey.
the math guy. Figure it out. Come on.
63%? I'm guessing.
I'm going to go
63%.
I'm going to go a little more than 50, Bob.
I'm going to do the math. I'm going to say 63.
I love how
65. 65.
love how
Right
he
on the
look-
number.
That's
he-
fine.
That's
looks at-
dominance.
He looks at the
You
lawyer for the
dominated
math
that
question. Like, that's pretty strong.
That's a dominant period of 15 years. He kicked their ass.
That's fine. I'm going to tell you right now, in the playoffs this year, I was firmly behind the 49ers against the Eagles.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with the 49ers right now. I hate the Falcons with
So
every
you've-
fiber
you've
of my
mended
being.
the
Hence
wounds.
the name of this podcast,
You mended the wounds.
28 to fucking 3 podcast.
I hear you, but
Yeah, it wasn't the 49ers that blew a 25-point lead.
we
in the
can
Super
still celebrate that 25-point loss
Oh,
and
and we
hate
will,
the 49ers
so-
more for what they did to my childhood. Maybe I'm
Well,
tougher as an
it
adult.
wasn't just your childhood. My childhood was ruined too because of it. But it was a 5-year
They
stretch.
did make a Super Bowl while Breeze was here, though,
think it's
right?
like-
That was
Yeah, they
incorrect.
did.
Yeah, that was
The
incorrect.
49ers had their time, and then they kind of went away because they got worse, but also they got out of our division.
They're in a diffent. Exactly. They're in a different division now.
today.
The Falcons
Correct.
just won't.
But
They
they've
won't
been in
go-
a different division
They
for
ruin
20
you
years.
at the worst times. Even when they, have one game, they just win games they're not supposed to win when you need them to just suck.
If the Saints
most.
are going to go 2-15 next year, if they just beat the Falcons in those 2 games, that'll soften the blow.
it's just
I hate
it's a
them.
rivalry. It's just
I hate
it's
them.
I've got family in Atlanta.
They have not caused me the same. They have rewarded me with 28-3. They have rewarded me with sucking. The 49ers fucking ruined me as a kid.
besides. Yeah, but
I just don't have that much trauma from the Falcons. That's why, it's what's the quote? It's not a rivalry until the other team wins.
well, it's-
Okay,
Okay.
No, that's fair. That's fair. But we're not talking rivalry. We just said most hated team. I hate them.
yeah.
I hate them too. I just don't know if I can hate them more than what the 49ers.
Because they're bandwagon. It's just everything. Anytime they get good,
Everything
like the fan of Matt
Did you
Ryan,
watch the
certain-
Falcons for 4 years when you were over there in Athens?
Hell
He's a
no.
big fan. Big guy.
No, I talk shit.
Only
to-
thing on TV, Falcons.
No. I went to I made it a point every Sunday to go to a place called the Taco Mac on Broad Street in
Saints
Athens
Bar?
because it was the only place that had NFL direct Sunday ticket. We
And
weren't
they
taking-
let you put the Saints on?
Well, they had it on.
That's surprising. Well, that's not surprising.
It was one of those
That
places
shit's
that had
so-
every game on it.
all together, okay,
So like
gotcha.
it was like where's I walked
gotta
in-
go sit by
I walked
that
in every
TV.
Sunday and they were
Yeah.
like, "It's you again?" Huh? I was like,
I
"Yeah."
gotcha.
What TV is it on today?
Yeah, the one
Yeah.
in the corner, back in the closet.
Got my
there.
terrible.
It's a tube
yeah,
TV.
Pretty
You
much.
can watch-
Got my terrible tacos from that place. It was like, "You want a Bloody Mary?" I'm like, "Not from you."
Spent $600 there every weekend.
It was less, but it wasn't. It wasn't pretty.
Well, I think if there's one thing that we established during this podcast, is that J.J. McCleskey was fucking awesome.
That's what I've been trying to tell you.
You need to Google
I'm
it.
trying to tell you. I tried to open with JJ McCleskey. You stole the words right out of my mouth.
Corey's going to YouTube Dome Patrol all night tone.
I know. Come on. I know
You
the
should
Dome
be
Patrol.
YouTubing J.J. McCleskey.
Yeah, Max going into the vault for that one.
Corey, he was roughly your height. How tall are you?
Max had a Mike Carney jersey, too.
I'm 6
Fucking
foot.
right, I did.
I'm 6'5".
Right.
6'5", 260.
I'm sorry. My name is Vaughn Johnson.
Vaughn was an animal.
All right, that was good. Good debate.
All right. I think we hit a lot. So on to the next one.
Actually, so the next couple of pods we're going to preview the draft. So we'll do a offensive player preview show, and then we'll do a defensive player preview show.
Yep.
And then we'll follow it up with a post-draft recap with a special guest.
Yep.
We'll leave that one in the bag until then, but wrap it up, Corey.
Yeah. Once again, thanks for putting up with us for another episode and dealing with these old guys. And until the next one, draft preview. Here we go.
Boom.